Hi everybody and welcome to my workshop. Today I'm gonna make a little video about how to make your own skateboard or longboard in an easy way. And you need a few things to do that. First of all, you need of course some materials. I'll come back to that. But before you even get started, you need to consider what kind of longboard you want to make. And it's not that difficult to make a longboard. You can actually easily take a 12 mil plywood or something else and just cut a shape out of that and use that for a longboard. But what I'm gonna talk a little bit about is how to make it like a little bit more curvy and cool and stronger. But as I said, before you start making your longboard, you need to consider what shape you want. I've made plenty of different. Here's a longboard with a tail here. I have another one here, which is a carving board. I have a regular longboard here with extra veneer on the bottom here. And some artwork on the upper plate. My daughter made this penny board. It is pretty worn out at the moment. I have a short longboard or a short board. I call it a hot rod because it looks like it's pretty cool. White trucks, but a short board. And then lastly, I've also made regular skateboards, but I'm gonna talk about longboards today. Yeah, so you need to consider what kind of design you want, the size approximately, the width, the shape, whether it's gonna be a regular longboard, a short one, one or two tails. You decide the design, of course. So you need to consider that before you get started. And then you need a jig, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the jig. There are a lot of different ways of doing this, making longboards and skateboards, and my way of doing it is a combination of different techniques I've seen on the internet or seen other people do. And of course, it's not a super professional 12-layer Acon veneer longboard that with like pressed together between two molds. This is a fairly rough way of doing it, but also quite easy and sufficient. I've done it quite a lot, and it works pretty well. What you need is a fairly long jig, and as you can see, I've added these edges here to give like the shape in both directions. They are curved a little bit in this direction, so you will get this curve along the board, and also you will get this like curve at the other direction, because the more curved it is, the stronger it gets, because all these curves will make it rigid, so you can make the board thinner, which is pretty nice. And I've made quite a few different jigs, and I only have this in my workshop at the moment, but you need like a base jig. You can make it out of scrap wood. You need a top pressure stick for the middle thing, so you can push down the different layers of plywood. And then you need a wedge if you want a tail on your longboard, or two if you want two tails. Anyway, and then you need some different materials. As you can see, I've covered my jig in plastic so the glue wouldn't stick to it. And that's the next thing. You need a lot of glue, wood glue, and it needs to be outdoor wood glue, so it won't get dissolved in a rainy day. And then you need the material, and what I'm using is 3mm birch plywood. You can get it in special stores. I get mine in a store called Arkitegn in Aarhus, but you can also in regular building stores you can get 4mm plywood as well, and that's also okay. You'll get a little bit thicker board, of course, but I use 3mm birch plywood, and you get it in pieces that are 1 by 1 meter. And what's really important is that when you cut it up in your smaller pieces, it's a little bit stiffer in one direction than the other. It's quite soft in one direction, and it's a little bit more rigid in the other. And it's important that you cut it along the oars of the wood in the veneer, so it's stiffest in the longest direction, and then you can like bend it easier in the short length of or the width of the board. So I'm ready to start gluing. I've prepared my jig here. I have my plywood over here, and for the bottom plate you need, before you start gluing, the side that are gonna turn towards the ground is gonna be the nicest one, because that's the one you'll be able to see, and you can add some artwork and stuff like that. In this case I've added an extra layer of veneer with, in this case, bamboo, so it will have a cool bamboo bottom look, and you need to do that before you glue up your skateboard or longboard, so you can do that beforehand. I can show you a few pictures of how I did it. Anyway, then you choose your 3 layers. I have 4 here, so I'll just ditch one of them. And then I have 3 different layers, starting with the bottom one, and then you'll add a layer of glue and then put an extra piece on top. Yeah, I'll do that in a moment. Before you do that, what is really important is that you actually have plenty of clamps and whatever you need before, because I have, like, the more the merrier. It's about having as many as you need, and there are no special needs. The only thing is that it's important that they are wide enough to get to the middle of the jig, so you can get a steady pressure right in the center. Yeah. And before you start gluing, because when you start clamping and gluing, you need to work pretty fast, so you need your glue, plenty. You need a scraper. You can just have a piece of cardboard or something like that to give an even layer of glue. You need all your clamps. It's a very good idea to cover the floor with plastic, because the glue will start dripping if you have enough glue. It needs to start dripping, really. And then you're ready with your wedge as well. I want a small tail. in this case. And then you are ready to start gluing. Okay, before you start the gluing process, it might also be a good idea on your top layer that you add a line, a center line on the piece that will help you afterwards when you put your layout, your design and stuff like that. So I think I'll do that. And this is approximately 24. So 12 and a half. Like that. And then I have a center line, so I later can line up my my design. And then we're ready to rock and roll. So of course I start my bottom layer, which is gonna be the layer that are closest to the ground, turning downwards. And I place it approximately on the middle of my jig. I have my cardboard piece here. I have my glue here, and I always take off the lid so it's easier to pour. So you can work faster, but you don't have to. And then we just start gluing. And it's about getting an even layer. Put your top layer on top of your piece here. You line them up, take a few clamps, clamp them together so they somehow stay where you want them. And then I add my wedge to the tail end, and I take my center press piece here, and it needs to be space for the wedge down here, so you move it a little bit forward, and then it's about starting to add pressure. They were too short. And it's also important that this centerpiece is of course center, so it's on the middle of the board, and the overlap here, or the overlay here in the sides, are even on both sides. Otherwise you'll get a longboard that are a little bit off. And then you just start squeezing everything together. Here you can easily adjust that afterwards. Now I've a little bit too little of a tail, so I'll just adjust it, push it a little bit further in. Like that. Then I have a decent tail. plenty of glue coming out between the different layers. Plenty of clamps, and it's the same thing on both sides, as you see here. Plenty of glue. Yeah, but that's it for now. Then there's only waiting time left, because we need to let it sit here for at least, or I usually wait until the next day to take it out of my jig to make sure that the glue have healed completely. So take a cup of coffee, start designing your longboard on a piece of paper so you can transfer that to your raw longboard shape tomorrow. But I'll get back to that.